Kunkel here. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and set the notification bell to all so that you won't miss any of my new content. On this episode of Global Topic, it will be on industrial and commercial roofing coatings. Joining me today is Brunno Batista from Brunno No BS, a YouTube series. Brunno, welcome.
How you doing, buddy?
Doing real well. Hey, Brunno, for the viewers, could you go through your background?
Okay, my background came in, actually, I'm a third generation roofer in my family. It started with my grandfather back in Italy. He used to do slate work, all handcraft made back in Italy. But trying to run away from the founder of fascism, which was the dictator Benito Mussolini, my family, they decided to immigrate to Brazil, to avoid the World War II, So my father was the first Brazilian Italian born in Brazil, and then met my mom. He served the military actually, because even up to this day in Brazil, it's mandatory for you to serve the military. So he met my mom in the military, and they were married. Had 3 kids. I'm the middle child. I'm 41 years old. So in Brazil, there was no such thing as a slate work. Most of the slate art that you see, beautiful stuff that been doing over centuries, is either France, Germany, England, Italy. You don't see that much in the United States, unfortunately. That skills, it's a very lack of skills here. You see still good people doing slate, but not as much as in Europe, where roofers are treated with a very degree of respect, So right in the 70s, the beginning of the 70s, my grandfather had opportunity to move to the United States, to move to New Jersey. Back in the days in New Jersey, there was a lot of Italian people, a lot of Italian community. You watch the movies all the time, right? Godfather and all that kind of stuff. I promise you, my grandfather was not a mafia guy, but he did have the connections, if you know what I mean. But they decided to open a roofing company in Newark, New Jersey. It was a local union. And then he started roofing, But then right in the 80s, the end of the 80s, my grandfather he was very sick. We got to find out that he had the asbestos, he had stage 4 cancer due to the asbestos, exposed to asbestos. So he called my father and said, hey, you got to come to the United States and take care of the business because I can't control anymore. So my father came, and you got to remember, in Brazil, my father was doing waterproofing business because, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even up to this day, substrates are it's a new stuff. But why in the United States, we've been doing this for 40, 50 years, even more than that. Back in the days, you go in third world countries like Mexico, Brazil, the roof is the deck, it's a concrete, and that's it. You go in those buildings and all the roof there's no substrate. So my father came, having the knowledge in coating, and not in coating, but the waterproofing, he came in the 90s, 1993. And then when he established, himself, ran a home, he decided to, bring off the family, my mom and my brother and my sister. So I started working with my dad, because, when my dad came here, he didn't speak in English very well, so am I. I didn't speak English at all. So I decided to, I used to work with my father doing side job, they were a local union, but, my father used to pay me under the table, So that's how I learned roofing, hot mop and torch, And then, way back in the days, we're talking about the 90s, everyone was still doing hot mop and torch, There was no such thing as a coatings, and TPO and single ply. I mean, don't get me wrong. It exists, but it was not such a big thing like it is these days, So it was a hard labor, and I didn't want to do this. So when I turned 18, I got a scholarship, because I used to play. I was very good playing soccer. So I guess it's in the blood, right? Brazilian, half Italian. So I moved to Florida, and I got a degree in finances. It has nothing to do with roofing whatsoever. But then I got I did not like working in a desk. Yeah, I always been an outside guy, So I got a buddy of mine that used to work for this big roofing manufacturer, and he said, "Bruno, you have the skills already. Come and work for us." And I say, "All right, let's do it." And that's when I started working for more towards the manufacturer side. But I started originally on the roofing side as a roofer contractor.
And you have a good background in doing roof assessments and inspections and everything. I've seen a lot of your video that you put out there. Is that correct?
Yes, I've been doing this for over, working for roofing manufacturer is being, as a roofing contractor, it being 14 years, and also roofing, manufacturer side, another 14 years. So it gave me like 28 years because I started very young,
Yeah.
I'm 41 only.
So, hey, Bruno, based on your experience with industrial and commercial roof coatings, what are some of the benefits associated with properly applied roof coatings?
Well, for me, the most important thing is reduce the cooling bills, reflectivity, so your electricity go down, you extend the roof life. Because remember, roof coating is not a roof, it's a restoration process. Now you use it with a variety of materials too. You can apply coatings in any kind of substrate instead of tearing off. And you got to remember, you tearing off a roof is gonna sit on the landfill for 100 years. With coatings, it's kind of the process of restoration. So it's less label, less material spend. By the end of the day, the roofing contract will make more money, and a lot of people don't know that. Coming from the New England states, New York, New Jersey, up to this day, if you're talking about coatings, they're gonna say, "Get out of here." Coatings it's not a roof. Yeah, it's not a roof, but it saves a lot of money for people, and it could save potentially for your customer, a lot of money.
The one thing that I found, roof coatings are, very advanced and specialized, and they meet, many complex service environments. When it comes to the preparation prior to the roof coating application, what are the typical elements of the roof prep that are done by the contractor prior to application?
Well, I think the first thing that they should do, and I teach them a lot, is you do your inspection, visual inspection. What you do is you go on the. Here's the thing: building owners sometimes they just want to pass that problem for the other. If they sell in the business, they want to pass that problem for other people, right? So the best people that you should always ask, if the roof is a candidate for coating or not, is first you ask the business, the tenants, because the tenants will tell you the truth. If you go and ask the business owner, sometimes they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, we got a guy here that did a roof repair 102 and it stopped leaking." But you go and ask the tenant, "Hey, do you have any problems with the roof?" They're gonna tell the truth. They're gonna say, "Oh man, it leaks every time it rains." So before even thinking about prep, you got to think about if the roof is a candidate or not for coatings. So the rules that most manufacturers apply is that if it's more than 25% underneath the substrate is wet, the roof is not a candidate for coatings. So visualize the roof is the most important thing. You go inspect, go inside the building. If you're able to see the deck, and make sure, because you want to be safe, there's roofs that I went that, if I do the wrong step, I could, it could be that, so you want to make sure the roof, if you can't see it, the roof, you ask general questions. Hey, you guys having leaks? What's the problem with the roof? So after that, once you go, and then you go on top of the roof, the rooftop, and you visualize, take some pictures, make videos like I do, and after that, then you do the prep work. Once the roof is a candidate for coatings, you do the regular process that any manufacturer, at least, manufacturers that give warranty, they will recommend, which not recommend, it's mandatory. You pressure wash the roof, and sometimes you need, do all the repairs necessary. If you do a moisture survey, because it's required, for most manufacturers, they require doing a moisture scan. So once you do the moisture scan and you determine the areas that has to be replaced, you cut those areas, remove those areas, replace with the compatible material or the compatible substrate, and then after that, you pressure wash the roof, fix those areas, prime, depends on what kind of roof, sometimes you use a epoxy primer, sometimes you use a water-based primer, if it's a silicone, for instance, sometimes you use what we call bleed blocker, to prevent the asphalt oils to bleed through the silicone,
Very interesting. So, when you look at the aspect of the application of roof coatings, how are they typically applied?
What do you mean by that?
What type of, is it specialized equipment, or is it, like a spray gun,
Yeah, you can apply in my favorite method is using a roller,
Okay.
but many people like to spray it because it's fast. But the reason why I like the roll, with the nap and all that is because you take the risk of I see many times, many occasions, when you go on a roof that does not have any parapet wall, or the parapet wall is very short, and under that, on a parking lot, that there's a bunch of expensive cars or even regular cars, so if it's a little bit of wind, man, you could be in big trouble. So rolling for me is the best option, but sometimes people use squeegee, all that kind of stuff. So you can use coatings with any type of, spraying, rolling, squeegee, brush, whatever you want to use it, you can,
Yeah, I could see the high potential for overspray, in my industry. I work.
Overspraying, so that's a big problem too,
Especially related, in my industry, that typically a lot of that challenge is related to bridge work, where you still have active traffic moving in, maybe a partial lane or something. You have to be careful of overspray because of vehicles and things like that, or maybe there's parking close to the bridge that the paint could catch on the wind and then hit the vehicles. So let's look at the aspect of, for the contractor when it comes to quality control. As a roof coating's being rolled or squeegeed or maybe sometimes sprayed, what type of quality control goes into that from the contractor?
Well, here's the thing. Working for the manufacturer side, I always recommend the roofing contractor, to have the manufacturer, if they are the first jobs, because, you need to learn first. Once people do mistakes all the time, but to avoid those mistakes, it's always good for you to work together with the manufacturer. If you work for manufacturers like APOC, GAF, Geico, Tropical, whatever you want to use, call them and make sure they're on the roof together with you. So, they can always, that's what I used to do for my customers, every time, and that's one of the problems I've seen a lot with manufacturers, they all want to sell their products, but when you need a technical person, manufacturers, sometimes they hire people, and don't get me wrong, you don't need to be an expert, but you have to have a knowledge. And a lot of times, some salespeople, I'm not mentioning names, and I'm not accusing anyone, but a lot of times they're not prepared enough to go on a roof. They need to have the basic knowledge and terminology of the roofing, so they can teach the contractor how to do, the right way. And when you don't have that, there's a happening in few occasions that I had to argue with a sales rep and say, listen, we're not going to do coatings on this and on this roof. Why? Because the roof is shot. There's no such thing as a miracle in the bucket. And that's the reason why coating got a bad name, not necessarily because of the product, but because the lack of training, from some roofing contractors. I'm not blaming roofing contractors too as well, but if they had the appropriate training, and that's what I focus the most. Every time they have any job, any big job, I would like to be part of that. They call me and say, Bruno, can you come in this roof? You cannot call me the next day, but if you say, hey, listen, I'm going to start a project in 2 weeks. Can you come here? So I'm going to be there with the roofing contractor. I'm going to be able to, and I'm a hands-on products guy. Some people only like to watch, and I'm that kind of guy that I'm going to help. I always tell the roofing contractor, listen, if I go on the job, you guys are lucky. What do you mean? Because you guys are going to have a free labor, because I'm going to be there to help you guys. I'm not going to be just sitting there and looking at guys, hey, please do this, please. No, I'm going to be helping. I'm going to be, put my hands dirty on, and I'm going to work together. We're going to sweat together. It's no such thing as, hey, I'm just here just to looking. I'm not babysitting anyone. I'm there just to help and to make sure, everything goes according to the plan, to the manufacturer spec, So then the business owner is happy, the roofing contractor is happy, and the manufacturer is happy, because, you cause less problem once the warranty is in effect,
Yeah. Bruno, this has been a great conversation. In closing out this episode, is there anything that we did not talk about that you would want to cover for the viewers of this episode?
Well, I can tell you this, guys. If you guys listen to, I can guarantee you, people still very, have like a lot of things against coatings. But here's the thing. Economy, is kind of like crazy right now. I can guarantee you this. In a few years, mark my word, what's today's date? Today is what? June? No.
Today's what? June 14th?
June 14th or 16th? No, June 16th. Come on, man. All right.
Sorry.
Mark my words. Listen what's going to happen. I can guarantee you that coatings is going to be the new TPO. Here's the thing. 15, 20 years ago, people could care less about TPO. They would say, man, I'm not going to put a plastic, a tarp on my roof. And look at now how TPO is the #1 product selling in the United States when it comes to manufactured products. All right. Here's the thing. Coating is going to take that, is going to dethrone the TPO, and it's going to be, the coating fever. I can guarantee you that in a few years, you're going to see more technology, more things. There's great manufacturers like Tremico, Garland, I can Suprema, that manufacturers back in the day, GAF manufacturers back in the days, they didn't even used to do coatings. And now all the manufacturers making coatings. You think it's just a coincidence? No. They want a piece of that cake too. They just don't want to, hey, listen, they don't want to be like, hey, yeah, we're just buying that just for an option. No, they invest millions and millions of dollars because they know, people want to spend less money. People want something more practical, more easy. It doesn't mean, of course, if someone asks me, Bruno, would you like to have coatings or a new roof? Of course, a new roof is always the best option, but people want something more easy, practical, less expensive. And coating is going to take the place of TPO. I can guarantee you that. On any substrate in general, look at, if people don't change their minds, look what happened to people that used to use hot mop and kettles. You don't see that anymore. I mean, you still see few people that do, in certain states, but it's a dying, art. I don't think we ever die, but it's less and less people using. I remember back in the days, you go to a pawn shop, you see kettles, on every pawn shop. You don't see that anymore. You can, it's sitting on someone's shopping for many, many years without using. So coatings eventually is gonna, little by little, if you pay attention, the 3 big states that do coatings, California, Florida, and Texas. Those are every manufacturer, when they decide to do coatings, they either open, a plant in Florida, Texas, or California, or they want a sales rep there because they know those are the states that are open for coatings, and eventually it's growing everywhere. I think coating is going to be the new fever. I can guarantee you that.
So, Bruno, for those that are watching the episode here, that this is their first introduction with you, just to let everybody know that Bruno is on LinkedIn. Is there any other way for people to follow you, Bruno?
Well, they can follow my, if you go on Google, YouTube, put on a Google, if you just put the hashtag Bruno No BS, you're going to find me on Facebook, you're going to find me on Google, Yahoo, and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, because I do have about 150,000 followers, including, all the social media platforms. YouTube is kind of new for me. I just created about, 4 weeks ago, or a month ago. And hopefully, I become one day a Justin Bieber and I don't need to work anymore. I get paid by YouTube and make money.
Well, I encourage everybody to definitely check out your YouTube channel. On there, the interviews that you do, the 10 minutes or less, are absolutely amazing. Also, too, your OSHA nightmares and a lot of the clips that you put out there are very informative and very interesting, just to see some of the things that people do, sometimes mostly related to roofing, but sometimes just to, general things, people do in daily activities. Bruno, I want to thank you for the opportunity to interview you today. Thank
you so much, buddy. If you need anything, just let me know.
Okay.
Hey, where you at, by the way?
Oh, I'm based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and where are you based out of?
I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida. So next time in Pennsylvania, man, we're gonna grab lunch together, all right?
Excellent. Bruno, have a great day.
All right, you take care, buddy.